The verse of the day is Philippians 4:13, and it says, "For I can do everything through Christ who gives me strength." This is one of the most popular verses in the entire Bible. A lot of people use it as a verse to speak on, oh, I can accomplish anything in my life because of God. I can do absolutely anything. Nothing is impossible, which is true. Nothing is impossible for God. But I think a lot of people take this verse out of context because what Paul is addressing is how to endure through any hard circumstance, through any circumstance. That you can be okay, that you can be strong no matter what life throws at you. I think today's verse pairs really well with the verse earlier last week where we talked about how God's power is made perfect in our weakness. Because God's power is made perfect in our weakness, it's through those hard moments and when life throws you curveballs and when what you thought would be there doesn't happen, that you're able to lean on God in the midst of your weakness or hard circumstance, and God is able to make you strong through it, that you're able to endure because of God. The perspective of today's verse is so key because I used to be someone that thought if I didn't feel happy and joyful and peaceful and flowing in the spirit, then there must be something wrong with me. Then I must be doing something wrong or not being a good Christian, or that I'm not able to be used, or I won't be able to actually love people well when I feel that way. And if God has taught me anything through doing Bible challenges all year, is that God doesn't use perfect people. He doesn't use people who are on. He doesn't use people who only feel strong. He uses people in the midst of their weakness. If you guys only knew in the fall and earlier in the year, as I was just going through life and having hard days or hard moments, it was in those days where I was like, Lord, I don't want to do this today. Lord, I don't feel like it. Lord, I feel frustrated because of this going on in my life. I feel off. I don't feel motivated. I don't feel your peace. And I would usually disqualify myself in those moments to not do it or not feel like I would be able to encourage someone or give a good word. But it's in those moments when you don't feel it and you feel off and frustrated and you lean on God's strength that you're like, Lord, have your way, take over, please, because I don't feel like it. Do it for me. Speak through me. That He's able to help you be strong in the midst of that hard moment, in the midst of those weak moments, because He doesn't use perfect people. He uses people who depend on Him. He uses people who know that they're weak and know that they need His strength. And it's in those moments that you can endure anything. It's in those moments that I can do anything through Christ who gives me strength, that I can continue on when I don't feel on or I don't feel strong. But I can do it because God is with me and God is working through me. I think the funny thing about growing endurance is before you really learn what it means to grow endurance, our tolerance for hard moments is so tiny. Our tolerance for pain and struggle and the hard circumstances can be really small. And when you learn to depend on God in your weakness, your tolerance grows because you're no longer fearing the weakness. You're no longer afraid of the weakness because you know that God carries you through, because you're learning what it feels like to be strong in your weakness because of God. So it's really good news for you and I when we learn how to endure and to depend on God in our weakness, because when hard moments come, you're going to have history and evidence for how God has already carried you through moments like that. So that's how you're able to continue on even better in the long run and in the future, because you know that you can get through it because you have before. This is why it's so important to have Jesus, because circumstances are going to change every day. The world is very unreliable. But God never changes. And so when those hard moments come, you don't fear for stability or fear for safety or fear for that strength, because you have it within. You're learning that it comes from within and it comes from Him. So you're able to stand sturdy when the world tries to shake your ground, when the world tries to bring you down. You're able to stay strong because God's strength helps you endure any circumstance. In verse 11, it says, "For I have learned how to be content with whatever I have. I know how to live on almost nothing or with everything. I have learned the secret of living in every situation, whether it is with a full stomach or empty, with plenty or little." I love that, because if life is going to teach us anything, if God wants to teach us anything, I believe it's that we can maintain joy and peace whether we have plenty or little. That has been one of the biggest lessons for me this year. As I've taken the leap to do this full time, God has taught me how to be okay with very little and to depend on Him daily, monthly, for finances. The funny thing about growing in trust and taking leaps of faith, it goes back to that endurance thing. God helps us take leaps of faith little by little, because He knows our first leap of faith, we don't have a ton of endurance for the scary feeling that comes after taking a leap of faith, which is actually having to depend on God and having faith that you can't see. But the more you step and the more you jump, the more your endurance grows to take bigger steps, and the more your need to control things gets smaller, and the more your tolerance for certain financial needs or certain things gets smaller, because you learn that God really does provide you with everything that you need. He gives you everything that you need. So you're able to learn more and more that, oh, okay, I'm all right because God's got me. The biggest lesson I've had to learn this year, as I've taken a leap of faith and stepped to do this full time, is my finances. God has been teaching me how to fully surrender my finances into His care, which I've talked about before. It has been the biggest privilege of my life, learning how to put all my finances in His hands, because He is the one that provides. So He's the one that makes everything come to pass, or brings me anything that I need. And I would say from October to now, this has been the month that has been the tightest for me since I've taken the leap. And I think that speaks to the endurance. It goes back to how I have a higher tolerance to not need as much, even when it's a shorter time crunch for needing it. Does that make sense? I have history from the past 10 months of God providing for me. So on month 10 or 11, when maybe it's the most tight I've been all year, my peace and my safety net is so much stronger, even though it could be a situation that would look so much worse than it did 10 months ago, because I know God has me. And I know that I have so much evidence for God carrying me through, because He makes me strong when I'm weak. And it's in my weakness or the tight feelings or the uncertainty that I really get to rely on Him, and that He really gets to take the lead and direct my life. You can get through anything with God on your side. And I believe He's just trying to teach you that He is the one who's going to be your rock in that hard moment, or in this difficult moment of trusting Him. God is your strength. Lean on Him no matter what weakness you're feeling, and He will help you endure. Okay?